The hidden legacy of King's X. You've heard the sound, the drop-tune guitars, the soulful vocals, the stacked harmonies that somehow feel like both a hymn and a scream. You've heard it in grunge, in 90s alt-rock, in modern progressive metal, even in Christian music. But you might not have heard of King's X, the band behind it all. They never sold millions of records. They never had a top 40 hit. But the echoes of their sound have shaped decades of music. King's X is a band that defied categorization from the start. A trio made up of Doug Pinnick, Ty Tabor, and Jerry Gaskill. Their music blended heavy metal, progressive rock, funk, soul, and lush three-part vocal harmonies. The band's story begins in the late 1970s when Pinnick, Tabor, and Gaskill met while working in various Christian rock bands. They eventually formed a band called The Edge, which morphed into Sneak Preview. Under that name, they released a self-titled album in 1983, but the sound was far removed from what King's X would become. In 1985, they rebranded as King's X and relocated to Houston, Texas. It was here that their signature sound began to crystallize, a blend of heavy grooves, introspective lyrics, and vocal harmonies that set them apart from anything on the radio at the time. Doug Pinnick, a towering presence both physically and vocally, brought a unique mix of gospel and soul influences to the band. He was deeply inspired by artists like Sly and the Family Stone, Jimi Hendrix, and Aretha Franklin. Ty Tabor was the sonic architect of the band, obsessed with the Beatles, and known for his meticulous approach to tone. His guitar playing combined melodic sensitivity with muscular riffs. Jerry Gaskill was a grounding force, a drummer who knew when to lay back and when to push forward. His musical instincts helped maintain the band's groove without overpowering the other elements. Their debut album, Out of the Silent Planet, released in 1988, received modest attention but became a cult favorite among musicians. Its spiritual overtones and intricate arrangements were a breath of fresh air in an era dominated by glam metal. The follow-up, Gretchen Goes to Nebraska, was a concept album that solidified their identity. It's widely regarded as one of the greatest rock albums of the late 80s, with tracks like Summerland, Over My Head, and The Burning Down showing the full range of their musical and emotional power. By 1990, with the release of Faith, Hope, Love, King's X was on the cusp of breaking into the mainstream. They toured with big names like Iron Maiden and AC/DC, but their sound remained difficult to pigeonhole. Critics praised their musicianship, and their fan base grew steadily. But the industry didn't know what to do with a black-fronted, harmony-heavy, spiritually curious hard rock band. When grunge exploded in the early 90s, many of the bands at the forefront pointed back to King's X. Jerry Cantrell of Alice in Chains cited them as a major influence. Jeff Ament of Pearl Jam said King's X invented grunge. In 1994, they released Dogman, a raw, stripped-down album produced by Brendan O'Brien. The production was aggressive, and the harmonies were dialed back in favor of punch and immediacy. It was one of their best-received records critically and remained a high point in their discography. Despite this, mainstream success continued to elude them. They were too spiritual for grunge, too heavy for alternative radio, and too questioning for Christian rock. In 1998, Doug Pinnick came out publicly as gay, an act of courage that cost the band support in certain conservative circles, but solidified their legacy as artists unafraid to speak their truth. Their relationship with Christian music has always been complicated. While early albums contained spiritual themes, they were never overtly evangelical. Instead, their lyrics often questioned doctrine and explored faith as a personal, evolving journey. Beyond grunge, King's X influenced a broad range of artists. Bands like Dream Theater, Living Colour, and King's Kaleidoscope have all cited them as formative. You can hear their fingerprints in the layered arrangements of Carnival, the melodic sensibilities of Sevendust, and even in bands like Porcupine Tree and Haken. Our Lady Peace's early work echoes King's X in both texture and tone. PFR, a Christian band, drew heavily from their harmony-rich sound. Even modern alt-metal acts like Loathe and Sleep Token carry echoes of King's X's emotional depth and sonic layering. They were never chasing hits. They were chasing honesty. That's what kept them going, even when the charts didn't reflect their impact. Their lyrics tackled real life, depression, doubt, longing, and identity. Songs like Goldilocks, Black Flag, and cigarettes cut to the emotional core without ever feeling preachy or performative. In 2022, nearly 4 decades after they began, King's X released a new album, 3 Sides of One. Critics hailed it as a return to form. Fans celebrated the fact that they hadn't lost their edge, and younger listeners discovered them for the first time. The album featured everything fans loved: introspection, harmony, heavy grooves, and soul. It was proof that they still had something to say, and that people were still ready to listen. Today, King's X remains a symbol of artistic integrity. They didn't bend to fit the market. They made the market come to them, even if only slowly and largely behind the scenes. Legacy isn't always measured in Billboard charts or Spotify numbers. Sometimes it's measured in the quiet impact a band has on generations of artists, in the musicians who cite them as heroes, and in the listeners who find solace in their songs decades later. So the next time you hear a band blending heavy riffs with soulful harmonies, or questioning everything in a lyric while delivering a melody that stays with you for days, think of King's X. Because while their name might not be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, it's written in the DNA of modern rock music. They weren't just ahead of their time. They shaped the time that followed. And that, more than sales or awards, is what true legacy sounds like. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button and subscribe to the Echo Lab for more deep dives into the hidden stories behind music. Your support helps this channel grow and keeps the echoes going. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.